by day, our next guest here on Habits and Hobbies is a staple of Moorelands Kids' city programs as the city programs manager. And by night, she's a multi-talented contributor to our Lead On series. Please help me welcome our next guest, Jodi. Jodi, welcome to Habits and Hobbies. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
It is my pleasure and the pleasure of the whole cast and crew here at Habits and Hobbies. Now, you are our third guest, but as I understand, you are bringing something completely brand new with your hobby this week. So how about you go ahead and tell us about that?
I hope so. So my hobby this week is running. Ooh. So I actually find it fun to run, which I know a lot of people have a hard time understanding. But that's what I enjoy doing.
Fair enough. So how did you get into that? Like, has it been ever since you were born, have you just been running? Like you ran before you walked, or what was that situation kind of like?
I don't quite have that origin story. I did in elementary school for a couple years, was on the track team.
Okay.
But I wouldn't really say it was very serious. I also was way shorter than everyone, so I had to run twice the pace, so it didn't go well because everyone's legs were so much longer. But I did cross country there as well. And then I didn't really, I played like soccer and kind of ran in that, but I didn't really focus on running just as its own thing until 2016. So many years later.
Cool. Yeah, so that's super cool. And I like the point that you made about how like you played soccer, but there's still running there. So there's different, no matter what you're doing, you can always pick up skills that will help you in different places.
Absolutely.
And then also, this is a pretty recent hobby, right? So, could always time to pick something up. So next question is, what do you let's think about running. What do you like about running? How do you feel when you run? What keeps you going back? What gets you lacing up your shoes every morning?
I think I had to learn to like it, which I think is very normal when you start running, because anyone who's tried running and has talked to me about it now that they know that I'm a runner, they're like, how do you do this? And I'm like, no, you just got to push through all the awful at the beginning. But really, I think what kind of changed my attitude about it, because thankfully I had friends that I started running with, so I at least had, it was part of being social as well, is like that group of friends that I would go with. But really what kind of made that connection of something from like just doing it when I was with my friends to being something that I really enjoyed was when I realized how much more time I was spending outside, and I really noticed how much more I enjoyed that, and how much it improved my day to have that guaranteed time outside by myself, being able to focus or turn my brain off and just go.
Right. Very cool. And so part of, you said that, it was kind of something you had to push past at the beginning to you had to learn to like it. And I think that there's something else, I'm sure, that could be learned from running. Is there a particular Moorelands habit or quality that you find really gets used in running?
I do. I actually had to think about this for a while, because I think most of the habits and qualities, depending on your spin, could definitely, you use them all. Right. And I think that take care of yourself inside and out to me was kind of the easy answer. So I'm actually going to choose your response and respect, mostly because it is hard at the beginning, and depending on how you move forward with it, if you're just running short distances or long distances, if you're always challenging yourself, then there's always going to be hard parts. And there's definitely days where I've committed to running, and then by the time I've gotten to that time, I've been like, I don't want to go, and I've been so grumpy about it, but then I go and I do it anyways, and by the time I get back, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that. Just with the respect piece, I find that it can be really easy to be down on yourself, especially if you are having a hard time with it, and it's just a lot of the coaches that I listen to when I run are talking about how you need to be like a good cheerleader to yourself and talk to yourself the way you would talk to your friends or family who'd be doing the same thing. So I kind of really enjoy that message as well.
Right. I like that a lot. And definitely a big part of what we talk about when we're talking about respect at Moorelands is not just for others, but we want to make sure that we are treating ourselves the way that we want to be treated, right? So
absolutely.
That's a good point. And maybe something that, you know, might help you be a little easier on yourself. Maybe something that gives, like, maybe, you know, every once in a while in the running business, I think that, you know, there might be something that you can take home out of it to be proud of. So I think, do you have something to share with us today for a little show and tell?
I do have an item. I have a few running medals now that I've been doing it for a couple of years, and I kind of looked at all of them and I only chose one. It actually is the first one I got when I was learning how to run, and it's actually for the longest distance I've ever run, and it was the one that I did with my friends. And I actually did it as a fundraiser for Moorelands. So cool. That's why I chose it today. But in 2016 in the fall, as I was launching after school programs for the very first time in my career, I also ran the Scotiabank half marathon in Toronto.
Cool.
And I think this is actually one of the coolest medals I have too, because I really like the Toronto sign, so I really worked out there.
Yeah, that's sweet.
It gave me a lot of confidence with running and also just in other things. Because basically now if I'm having trouble with something, I'm like, you survived a half marathon, you can survive this. Like, let's just figure it out.
Right.
But it was it's a very large run, obviously, like distance, but also crowd-wise. So it was a pretty huge experience to have. Since I had only taken up running about 5 minutes earlier. I'd suggest maybe training for a little bit longer than I did, but it was good.
Nice. Well, congratulations. So how far is a half marathon? Like, how do I even start thinking about, you know, if I wanted to run a half marathon, how far am I going?
So you'd be going 21 kilometers.
Wow.
or 13 miles is a half, and I think it's like 21.3 or something. But yeah, it's quite the distance. And when we started running, we weren't even thinking about the half marathon. It was like, let's learn how to run. So we started with running for a minute, which was very hard to do, and then we'd walk for 30 seconds.
Yeah, that sounds more like me.
Yeah, and especially in our hilly neighborhood, hills are hard, man. But so that's where we started, and then we all build upon that, and we actually didn't decide to do the half until August after we had run our first 10 kilometers. And that was the ego boost we needed to sign up. I definitely think we probably could have benefited for a couple more weeks of training before we did it, but we didn't have the time, so we just committed hard and
no time like the present.
No time like the present.
Wow, so 21 kilometers. I was thinking I could maybe like step outside and do a couple runs around the block, but I think
that's a good start. That's how you get started.
I think in order to get half marathon length, I might have to do more than a couple blocks.
But the half marathon starts with a couple blocks.
Right.
So
right.
You just gotta increment it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Would you actually? I mean, that's kind of like maybe hinting at a good point. But what do you think if you're like training now? If you were to train for a race or like a half marathon, or something like that. Okay, let's say I've never Lynx, Jodi.
Yes.
Zeke. I'm looking for some advice.
Okay.
So if I am someone who is not a runner, I don't go for runs, I haven't been on a run in many a year, and I want to set a goal of half marathon. Okay, I'm going to run a half marathon, and let's not worry too much about how much of a time crunch we have, but let's just assume we have lots of time for our plan. How would you go about that plan? What do you think is a good way to kind of start training for that, or what are some good first steps maybe?
There's so many things. Okay, so things we depended on while we were learning how to do this, because no one was more surprised that I took up running than myself.
Okay.
And no one was more shocked that I liked it than myself, because I really was like, I'm not that, and I had really labeled myself hard against that. I was like, oh, that's not me, and now I really enjoy it. But things that really helped was I had a couple of friends, but that were all learning together, so we were able to kind of support each other through that because we had the same experience. But if you don't have friends, there are running groups that actually you can sign up with. I know that you'll train with them for whatever goal distance you have, which is pretty neat.
Cool.
I also conveniently have a friend that was a very avid runner, and she was wonderful and took us under her wing, and she came with us on our first couple runs to teach us like pacing, and really encouraged us when we were going up those hills and couldn't breathe to pass forward as she did it breathlessly. And I was like, how do I get to that point? But I did find it's something that I think with labeling myself differently than running that I really learned through that time is like how supportive the running community is. We have some local running stores, and we would just go in there and be like, we don't know what we're doing. This is what we're trying to do. And they kind of looked a little alarmed at our timeline, but we're like, okay, if you're going to do this, let's get this started. So like that support part was huge. But definitely you can also, if you don't have people, there's like plans online that you can do. When I was adjusting from running by myself, instead of with friends, I use an app that's free, and they have a lot of like narrated runs that are different coaches. Cool. So like I listen to them and I get free information that way, and that's great. So there's just so many resources that you can get, and then mostly for free on the internet as well. And the only other thing I'd say that's super important is getting the right pair of shoes, because I didn't have the right pair of shoes, and I was like, my knees, they hurt so much, and that's where the running store helped, which can be expensive, but I've definitely found now some like clearance outlets where I go and get the same shoe for like $40, so that's important too, because I like saving money.
Yeah, and they'll last you for quite a while, right? So it's a good
it's a good investment. Yeah. And it keeps your legs and your body healthy as well.
Cool.
Less injury.
Cool. And that's all kind of part of the like decide and plan. Make sure that you are going in, doing some research, making sure that you're getting a pair that's gonna work for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. And then also I really like the piece that you've actually kind of talked about a couple times now, which is that running might look like an individual kind of activity, but there's definitely still lots of opportunity to, work with others and achieve more together, right?
Absolutely. And that's what I think always blows me away about the running community is just even in March, before everything kind of went a little wild, I was out on a run and I was having a hard time with it, and I was near the end of it, and I was tired, and I could just hear feet behind me on the trail, and it was just this random person I didn't know that was also running. And she was just like, how much farther are you going? And I was like, I got like 2K left. And she's like, oh good, I have 20 left, because she was running 30 kilometers that day. And she's like, I'm gonna run it with you, let's get through this, you can do this. And then she was like giving me tips, and this was just like out of the kindness of her heart.
That's awesome.
And really the boost I needed that day, which was also great. But yeah, there is a huge community part, and you're not really as alone as you think you are in it, which I think is good to know well if you're nervous about starting or don't know where to start.
Yeah, that's great. And so just quickly, what is the favorite place? Because Lynx, I know you've been, Jodi, I know you've been all around the world. What is the coolest place that I'm going to restart my question. Okay. Jodi, what is the one place, if you could go for a run anywhere in the world, where would you go for a run? Maybe let's not take into account weather.
Weather?
So like don't let weather be a deciding factor.
The climate?
Yeah, we'll go for like the scenic.
Scenic?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There's just so many places outside that I already have on my list, but I guess it'd be in some of like the mountain areas. I really like. This is so hard. So normally when I travel, I do a run wherever I go. So I've run in a few different spots already, but it's just usually like in the city, local. I do really like the Highlands of Scotland. They're quite pretty and scenic.
Cool.
So I'd probably enjoy doing one there because I haven't. But if there's like a mountain range or a lot of trees in a trail, I'm usually very happy to be there.
Yeah, fair enough. Simple, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So, wonderful. Thank you for answering all my questions. But I just have one quick activity for us to go through here. That's going to test a little bit of your knowledge, or maybe just your guessing skills.
Probably that.
So I don't know if you are aware, but in October of 2019, Elliott Kipchoge ran the fastest marathon ever recorded.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
So he ran it in 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 40 seconds.
Yeah, he broke 2.
Yeah. So, yeah, the first person to ever run it in under 2 hours. So, what I want to know is if you, Jodi, I'm gonna present 3 everyday scenarios.
Okay.
Or three things that have a time associated with them. And I want to know if you think that Elliott Kipchoge can run a marathon faster than these everyday events.
Okay.
So you just have to guess what you think.
I think I'm ready to guess. I'm so intrigued.
All right, so it's just 3 scenarios, okay?
Yeah.
So scenario number 1. Using a public charging station, getting a full charge on your Toyota Prius Prime.
So is that slower than him running a marathon?
Can Elliott Kipchoge, the question is, can Elliott Kipchoge run a marathon faster than it would take to charge your Prius Prime?
I'm gonna guess yes. He can run it faster.
Correct. He can run it faster. The average charge time for the Prius Prime is 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Ooh, so close.
Okay.
I guessed it would be at least 3 hours, so that's better than I thought.
Okay, here we go. I think you'll have a really good shot at this next one. Can Elliott Kipchoge run a marathon faster than it takes to watch 6 innings of the average game of baseball?
Yes.
Correct. Again. Yes.
Baseball's long.
Yeah, it is. So a full game. So this would be 2/3 of a baseball game.
Yeah.
Regular baseball game is 9 innings. So just to get through 6, the average is 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Ooh, getting closer.
Just barely. Okay, and now the last one. This is the big one. Can Elliott Kipchoge run a marathon faster than it would take to watch every Moorelands lead-on video back to back to back, excluding live videos and excluding Habits and Hobbies, just the activity videos?
Oh, absolutely. Some of ours are like 20 minutes long.
Ding, ding, ding. Yes, you are correct. He can run it. If he could keep the same pace, he could run 3 marathons before you finish watching Moorelands Lead On. Moorelands Lead On has currently, by my calculations, racked up 6 hours, 30 minutes, and 28 seconds of activities for the children.
That's quite incredible.
So it's pretty good. Yeah, we are.
We're busy.
We're busy. That's a lot of. I was actually pretty surprised by when I started, because it's a bunch of, all the videos are like between 5 and 15 minutes, and they just add up really quickly.
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool to see that we've actually been doing it for that long. So, so there it is. So good job. Actually, all those things take longer than Elliott to run a marathon, which is quite exciting. And actually, one kind of fun fact, kind of going off of your point about how it's definitely like a, it takes a lot of, running is better together, right?
Yeah.
I know that for when he ran that marathon, actually, he had different like pace groups that would kind of come in and out to make sure that he could run with, to make sure that he was keeping the right pace so that he would be able to get the time that he was going for. So yeah.
Incredible.
Cool. All right. Well, Lynx, Jodi, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
That was super fun. I really enjoyed getting to know some more about running. And I'm thinking I might go put on my running gear and go for a jog right now.
Do it.
I'm feeling pretty inspired.
For the heat of the sun, do it.
All right, Lynx. Well, thanks again.
Thanks, Zeke.
See ya.